Hello, good morning, all dear students. I hope you are doing well. So, today we will start chapter 2 is Matter Surrounding Us Are Pure, part 1, class 9, Science by your Sonali ma'am. I hope you will enjoy. Let's begin with the chapter number 2 is Matter Around Us Pure. So, a pure substance means a single substance or a matter which cannot be separated into other kinds of matter by any physical process. That means if it is a gold, the all particles of that matter will be comprised of the particles of gold only. If you take a silver, so that substance will have all single particles made out of silver. So the pure substance means the single substance or a matter which you cannot separate into the other kinds of matter by any physical process. Now here remember they say physical process. That means if you break the bar of silver or gold, you will always get the small particles of gold only, no other substance. That means that matter is pure. Now, here you can see in this flow chart the types of substance. So, first matter. So, matter is classified into two categories. The first category is pure substances and second category is mixtures. So, pure substance, they are further classified into elements and compounds. Now, these elements are further classified into metals, non-metals and metalloids. In your previous year, you have already studied about the metal, non-metals and their properties. And you also know the metalloids are the mixtures of metal and non-metals. They are also called the alloy. Now, compounds. So, compounds are the one which you can break them further. Here I will talk example of compound like you can say glucose, you can say a water. You can further break them. Now, the second category of matter which is mixture, which do not have any fixed composition. So, the mixtures are further classified into homogeneous mixture which has uniform composition. Second classification is heterogeneous mixture which has non-uniform composition. So, the name itself suggests that homogeneous, that means evenly distributed. They form true solution. That means they have equal amount of solute spreaded in the solvent. Whereas heterogeneous are colloidal solutions as well as suspension solutions. So, matter here in this chapter we are going to discuss in detail each and every aspect. You have to remember this flow chart for the better understanding. Now, so the first thing is classification of matter. As we saw in our previous PPT or previous slide, that matter was classified first into pure substance and the mixtures. This pure substance are classified into elements, compound, and mixtures are classified into homogeneous as well as heterogeneous mixtures. So, on the basis of their physical property, matter is classified into three main types. They are solid, liquid and gas. So, about solid, liquid and gas and their property we have already discussed in chapter number 1 in my previous presentations. Now, here we will classify this matter on the chemical properties. So, on the basis of chemical composition, matter is classified into two main types. They are pure substance and mixtures. So, pure substance has two types. They are elements like metals, non-metals, metalloids and compounds. And mixtures have two more types. They are homogeneous mixtures forming true solutions, and the heterogeneous mixture, they form colloidal or the suspension solutions. Now, as per the Dalton's model, now you might have heard of Dalton's model that state that the pure substance are made up of only one kind of atom. In the first PPT, we discussed that if you break the bar of pure gold, the further atoms or further particles that you will receive will be of only and only gold particles. They are not made up of any other particles. So, this theory is only valid for the pure substances as they are made up of only one kinds of atom. Now, pure substances and mixtures. So, pure substances, it is a substance which is consist of single type of substance, element or compound. For example, iron, copper, hydrogen, oxygen, water, sugar, common salt which is also called NaCl. They all are the pure substances. If you break them, you will get only those type of particles. But the mixture, it is a substance which consists of two or more pure substances like sea water. So, in a sea water you will get H2O which is water as well as salt which is NaCl. So, the mixture is of two pure substances. The first pure substance is salt and second pure substance is water for the example of sea water. Then minerals, soil, air, sand, salt, sugar, water, salt, they are examples of mixtures. So, these mixtures are the substance which are consist of two or more pure substances. Now, let's differentiate the pure substances and mixtures. For exam point of view, it is an important question. So, pure substances, the first point is pure substances consist of a single type of substance, for example gold, whereas mixture consists of two or more pure substances. So, minimum there are two pure substances which forms the mixture. Second point in a pure substance is they cannot be separated into other substance by the physical method. You cannot convert them or you cannot make the other substance just by the physical methods, just by breaking, hammering or compressing. Whereas mixtures can be separated into its component by the physical method. For example, like sodium chloride, sea water. So, if you just keep a sea water in a sunlight, the water might get evaporated and what is left is the salt. So, just by the physical methods you can separate the mixture out. Third point in a pure substances. The pure substance has its own definite properties. That means they are just made up of single type of substance. So, they have their own properties. Whereas, mixture shows the properties of its component. Now, here let me give you a very easy example here. Like salt water. So, salt is very important ingredient for the balancing in our life. But you know that the salt is made up of sodium and chlorine. So, sodium and chlorine individually, they are poisonous substance. We can't take them individually. We can't take sodium, we can't take chlorine. But when they combined, they form a different property which is non-poisonous, and that is the reason that on daily basis we are using table salt. So, the mixture shows the property of its own components. Now, the type of pure substances. Let's discuss about the pure substance and their types. So, there are two types. They are elements and compound. So, first let's talk about the elements. So, elements, they are the basic form of matter which cannot be broken down into simpler substance by the chemical reactions. So, elements are three types. They are the metals, non-metals and metalloids. So, the first is metal. So just recall the last year metal and non-metal chapter 4 and remember all those properties. So here we will use the same property once again. So metals, they are lustrous, that means shiny, malleable, that means you can convert them by hammering into thin sheets, and ductile, that means you can stretch them and form the wires. They are good conductor of heat and electricity. They are sonorous, that means they produce rattling sound. Their examples are iron, aluminium, zinc, mercury, copper, silver, gold, etc. Now let's see the properties of non-metals. So they do not have luster, they are generally dark or grey in color. They are non-malleable and ductile because generally non-metals are in the form of liquid or the gases. They are poor conductor of heat and electricity except graphite and some form of carbon. They are not sonorous, they don't produce sound. Examples are hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, iodine, carbon, sulfur, phosphorus, etc. Now the third type is metalloids. So these metalloids are the elements which show some properties of metal and some properties of non-metals. So they are known as metalloids or alloys. Their examples are boron, silicon and germanium. So here the question can be asked, write a note on the types of pure substances. So you have to classify element as well as compound, and you will further classify element into metal, non-metal and metalloids. Now, so metal, they are generally solid at the room temperature except mercury. Mercury is used in the thermometer because it is highly sensitive towards the change in temperature, and also it is in the liquid state. Metals have the crystal lattice, that means atoms are closely packed and uniform. They are hard, they have luster and they are the good conductor of heat and electricity. Metals, they are malleable, you can see here the coin. They are ductile, sonorous and they have high melting as well as the boiling point. So here what we have discussed is the properties of metals. Now let's discuss the properties of non-metals. So they are either gas or solid at the room temperature. There is one non-metal which is also available in the liquid state, which is bromine water. Non-metals generally have the dull surfaces, they are not lustrous. They are mostly poor conductor of heat and electricity except carbon and graphite. Non-metals are uniquely quite soft. Non-metals are non-malleable and non-ductile. You can't prepare any sheet and you can't prepare wires out of them. They are non-sonorous because they are brittle. If you throw them or if they get dropped, they won't produce a sound, rather they will break into the small pieces. Non-metals have low melting and the boiling point. So here the question can be differentiate metal and non-metal. You can write all these points. Now let's discuss about the compound, which is the second category of pure substances. So the first category was the pure substances. They were we discussed about the elements, and elements were further divided into metal, non-metal and metalloids. And the second category of pure substance is compounds. So here we go. Compound is a pure substance containing two or more elements which are combined together in a fixed proportion of mass. That means, let's say an example of table salt. So table salt is NaCl. So always NaCl, that will be one part of sodium and one part of chlorine. So they are always found in the fixed ratio or fixed proportion. Let's say example is water, which is H2O. So always 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. So again, the definition of compound says that it is a pure substance containing 2 or more elements which are combined together in the fixed proportion by mass. Now, which are the types of compounds? So they are inorganic compounds and organic compounds. Now inorganic means they have more and more, they are obtained from more and more from non-living sources like rock and minerals. And examples for inorganic compounds are common salt, carbon dioxide and ammonia. Whereas organic compounds, they are obtained from the living beings such as plants and animals. Examples are methane gas, ethane gas, alcohol, sugar. So the compounds further we have divided into inorganic compounds and the organic compounds. Now let's discuss the characteristics of compound. A pure compound is composed of same element combined in a fixed ratio by a mass. Second property is they are homogeneous by nature. Now you know what is the meaning of homogeneous. That means homo, that means equally, genius, they are mixed. Equally mixed in proper combination, they are the pure compounds. Third is it is formed as a result of chemical reaction between the constituent of an element. Let me explain the third property with the example. Now Na and Cl, they combine together with the means of chemical reaction. So two individual constituent like sodium and chloride combine together at the end of chemical reaction, they form NaCl, which is sodium chloride. Now characteristics of compound. So properties of compounds are altogether different from the elements from which it is formed. So I gave you an example of sodium chloride, that sodium and chlorine individually they are poisonous, but when they come together and form salt, we eat salt on a daily basis for the preparation of food. So individually they might have a different property, but when they form compounds, they come up with the different properties. Now constituent of compounds cannot be separated mechanically. Yes, you can't separate them just by the physical way. You need to perform the chemical forms or chemical ways to separate them. Formation of compound involves energy changes. Yes, either it is an exothermic or endothermic. Now exothermic, that means the energy is released out, exited. That is exothermic. Whereas endothermic is to form that compound, energy is required. That is endothermic. That is an involvement of energy. Now mixtures we will discuss for our further slide, which is part 2. So far we will keep our part 1 with the till the compounds, that is the characteristics, till the characteristics of compound. I hope you have understood the part 1 chapter 2. I'll bring part 2 of chapter 2 very soon. In that we will learn about the mixtures and its types.